class. May I know who all have joined the call this morning? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisance for Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasing Dasa from California. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Priti Vilasing Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining and giving me association. Very kind. Thank you for very kindness for to me. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Komadiki Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Nice to see you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. And I'm very happy to see you and hear you also. Hare Krishna. But hearing is also seeing you. It's very nice. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Always very kind.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, AdiKhanda Mataji. Thank God for our you and always forward. Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. You must be working.
Komadiki Mataji, here I am. Can you see me?
Yes, now I can see.
I wanted to tell you, please switch on your video. If Mataji is telling, hearing you sing, you means he's asking you to switch on.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Komadiki Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Balavrinda.
Nice to see you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I didn't see you this morning. Yes.
My humble obeisances, Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shivani from Nashville, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji. Very beautiful, the Nitai deities. Appropriate for the class. And 2 sets of them. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Nice.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Sukh Sagari. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji, Sukh Sagari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji has not joined me.
Maybe in a minute or two, Mataji. We'll take more introductions. Maybe.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. This is Chaya from Charlotte. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Chaya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, Thank you very much for joining Mataji, Chaya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Kaumudiki Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Paneshri Lakshmi Devi Dasa from San Diego.
Hare Krishna, Paneshri Lakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Your smile is very contagious.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada and
All
Guru
glories to
Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kaumudiki Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Karuna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. And thank you for not giving me your audience. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa Conference. So today's class will be given by His Grace. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa Conference. So today's class will be given by His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhuji on the topic of Sri Caitanya Bhagvata, AdiKhanda, chapter 2.161 onwards. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Please forgive me. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for giving us your very valuable time and association this morning. and enlightening us on this topic. Please and take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. First of all, please accept my sincere apologies for being late. I had got stuck in some traffic, so without further ado, let's start.
And the saying goes like that, better late than never. So it's very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we will read from text 161 of chapter 2 AdiKhanda to 168. Satyayuge tumi Prabhu Shubhra Varnadhari Tapo Dharma Bujaho Apane Tape Kari. O my Lord, in Satyayuga, you have appeared with a white complexion to preach the principles of austerity by your personal example. Krishna Jina Danda Kamandalu Jata Dhari Dharmastapa Brahmachari Rupe Avatari. You wear a deer skin and carry a danda and water pot. You wear matted locks of hair. In this way, you incarnate as a brahmachari to re-establish the principles of religion. Text 163. Treta Yuge Haya Sundara Rakta Varnam Hayajna Purusha Bujaho Yajna Dharmam. You appear in Treta Yuga with a beautiful red complexion. Although you are the Lord of sacrifice, you set the example by engaging in the performance of sacrifice. Shrukshuva Haste Yajna Apane Kariyam Sabhare Laoyao Yajna Yagnikahayam. You carry a sacrificial ladle and spoon in your hands and encourage everyone to perform sacrifice. Divya Mega Shyama Varna Hataya Dvapare Puja Dharma Bujaho Apane Gare Gare. In Dwapara Yuga, you appear with a transcendental blackish complexion that resembles a monsoon cloud. You preach the process of deity worship from house to house. Pitavasa Srivatsadi Nijachinna Dhari Puja Kara Maharaja Rupe Avatari. You wear yellow cloth and you are decorated with the mark of Srivatsa. As a great king, you personally demonstrate the process of deity worship. Kali Yuge Viprarupe Dhari Pita Varnam Puja Bhare Veda Gopya Sankirtana Dharma. You appear in Kali Yuga as a Brahmana with a golden complexion to inaugurate the congregational chanting of the holy names, which is unknown through the Vedas. Kate Kavato Mara Ananta Avatara Tara Shakti Ache Iha Sankhya Kari Bhara. Therefore, you are the source of innumerable incarnations. Who has the ability to enumerate all of them? So, we are going to discuss up till this verse. We will chant some invocation prayer and then get going from there. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Menam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are very interestingly, in a very good coincidence, we are approaching Mahaprabhu's appearance both in our Caitanya Bhagavata context as well as in our calendar. The next 3 days we have Mahaprabhu's appearance coming our way. So in the next 30 verses, Vrindavan Das Thakura is going to present about Mahaprabhu's appearance. We are already preparing, as we are preparing ourselves, even in this context. This whole context is about just before Mahaprabhu's appearance, what has happened. The verses that we read today, for those of you who may have missed earlier sessions, is about the demigods who are praying, glorifying, and also eager for the arrival of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The parallel is very good between Krishna's appearance and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. As you all must have discussed, in Krishna's case also, there were 6 children who were born and died before Balarama's appearance. Even here, Sachi Mata got 6 girl children and they were all dead when they were born. And 7th was Vishwarupa. Right from the beginning of his birth, Vishwarupa was a completely different child, being unattached towards the family affairs or people, and he already exhibited a very significant symptoms of a Vairagi and a Tyagi. So very soon we will hear about him leaving the house, but right now we are only the appearance stage. So Vishwarupa is also a small child now, even though he is showing signs of some transcendental quality. So now Mahaprabhu's appearance is anticipated and celebrated by several people, but some anxious ones are the demigods and very humble, simple, but thoughtful devotees. In our Krishna consciousness, humble and simple are something very important, but without being thoughtful, our humility and our simplicity can be classified as our foolishness too. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to understand Mahaprabhu's avatar to understand Mahaprabhu's mission, to be part of the Sankirtan mission, we definitely have to be humble and simple and tolerant, but we also need to have some sense of thoughtfulness. If the thoughtfulness is not there, then probably we will misunderstand Mahaprabhu's avatar altogether. So the demigods, to motivate, to pacify, to bring in auspiciousness, to create the mood, and also out of jubilation, they are offering these prayers to Mata Sachi. Advaitacharya has visited few days before and even applied sandalwood paste, or at least requested sandalwood paste be applied. I'm not sure if it's Advaitacharya or I think it's Advaitacharya, into the belly of Sachi Mata so that the baby Nimai get a cooling effect. So the scene here is all the demigods are offering their prayers. So the 6-7 verses that we read today is about glorifying the Lord, how he is kind enough and how he is very merciful to appear amongst us. So they are expressing their gratitude towards the Supreme Lord. So we are going to turn this current context to a few sets of reflections, and we will see what is there for us to learn from this context. So in the last verse, verse number 168, Vrindavan Das Thakura explains, which means he is writing the prayer of the demigods, saying that, my dear Lord, you are the source of innumerable incarnations. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. And the demigods are asking, who in this world has the ability to enumerate all of them, list all of them? We know Dashavatara Stotra, where the prominent 10 avatars are glorified by Jayadeva Goswami. But the Lord appears unlimited time in unlimited universe for unlimited reasons. So we are going to understand this appearance of the Lord in two contexts, which is our first reflection. The first context is about understanding Yuga Dharma versus, so what is Yuga Dharma and the Lord's appearance around it? The second is about the Bhagavata Dharma, or what we can call as Sanatana Dharma. So, Sanatana Dharma is about the recommendations and activities associated with an individual, duties and responsibilities associated with an individual, and it is common across all the yugas. But Yuga Dharma is those duties and those activities to be done in that particular yuga or prominent and relevant in that particular yuga. In our devotional context, we should always remember these two as two sets of principles and two sets of activities. Sanatana Dharma is something that we cannot ignore, we cannot forego, and it is standard practice across all the ages, which is about developing relationship with the Supreme Lord, understanding our constitutional nature, offering our services to the Supreme Lord, and finally be a responsible and accountable person. This is across the board at all point in time, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Vedic literature. But Yuga Dharma varies from every yuga, and it is recommended according to the nature and mindset of a people of a particular yuga. So for us as the practitioners of Krishna consciousness movement, we need to understand that our Yuga Dharma of Harinama Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, have a very significant importance in our devotional spiritual journey. I'm going to make a statement which might sound contradicting, but it is not. In the sense, in Kali Yuga, more than our personal japa, which is classified as our individual sadhana, Yuga Dharma is about congregational chanting. So, a practitioner, whilst preparing oneself for Yuga Dharma, has to perform certain swadhyay or self practices. That is why he is given chanting, reading, association. But Yuga Dharma drives the pure love of Godhead. Yuga Dharma provides the pure love of Godhead. Hence, by chanting, by reading, by association, by all the quotients of our self practices, one need to mature, one need to grow up in performing Yuga Dharma. Srila Prabhupada established International Society for Krishna Consciousness for establishing this Sankirtan mission, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So the reflection here is, when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as explained in the purport of text number 168, in the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna, names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pankastra Parsadam Yajnair Sankirtanai Prayair Yajantihi Sume Dasa. So, as a practitioner, we need to contribute. We need to reorganize, reprioritize our life in such a manner that Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan is integral part of our Krishna consciousness practices. What it means is four things. Number one, whenever, wherever Kirtan is going on, one need to dance and invite others to dance and congregationally spread and sing the glories of the Lord. I hail from South India. It was very difficult for me, it is still sometimes very difficult for me to go and dance, because in South Indian tradition, especially Smarta culture, is much of sitting in one place, reading some sort of a dry Vedanta, as the Mayavadi sannyasis with Prakash Ananda Saraswati did. Eventually, Mahaprabhu has to break the jinx and eventually preach to them. So, number one, with respect to the Yuga Dharma, is I dance. There are devotees who are very hesitant, who are very reluctant, very shy. I stand up, dance. This is Sankirtan. I'll tell you two stories of Prabhupada. One happened in United States, where the devotees offered or informed Srila Prabhupada that they are going for Nagar Sankirtan. So Srila Prabhupada was very happy the devotees are going. Within 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, the devotees came back. So all of them, when they came back, Srila Prabhupada asked, how come you all came back so early? And all of them said, Srila Prabhupada, there was hardly anyone in the street, so we came back. Srila Prabhupada said, that don't you see trees, birds, beasts and other plants as jivas? This Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan is not only meant for humanity at large, it is for all the inhabitants, all the living entities. So the first instruction that Srila Prabhupada gave them is, go back and sing and come. Another instance, when Hyderabad ISKCON temple was first inaugurated, where the Radha Madan Mohanji deities were getting installed in 1972, 74 or whatever the time is. Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON did not have a significant amount of devotees who can perform fire sacrifice and several procedural installation ceremonies. So Srila Prabhupada had called for some Sri Vaishnava scholars, Sri Vaishnava Pandits. So these Sri Vaishnava Pandits, after they performed the fire sacrifice, deity installation got over and all the netrot, so everything is done. And after first Abhishek, the first Aarti was going to be happening. And our devotees performed the Kirtan. And in that Kirtan, all the devotees, they started to dance. And there were 4 Sri Vaishnava devotees who came for performing the fire sacrifice. They were witnessing and watching for some time. But as the Kirtan tempo picked up, they slowly started getting involved. They eventually started to raise their arms and started to dance. Srila Prabhupada pointed at them and said, this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. When Sripad Radhanath Maharaj went for the first South India Yatra several years before, there were around 5,000 plus devotees in Srirangam at that time. So they performed such a wonderful yatra there that the Sri Vaishnava Mutt head, his name is Jier, and also some of the very personal and wonderful servants of Sri Sri Ranganatha Swami, they all came out in public and acknowledged how the Sankirtan mission is the solution for the humanity at large. So whenever we talk about, each of us need to have Yuga Dharma in our daily life, which means number one, I will dance in the Kirtan, not just shy away, because it is part of our Sankirtan, congregational chanting and dancing. Number two, that Yuga Dharma is about giving this holy name to others and inviting them to be part of this Samyak Kirtan. So inviting others, so we have to preach out. If I'm only a self-practitioner, neither dancing nor inviting, then I am not Gaudiya. So we need to invite all the souls into this Sankirtan mission. The third aspect of we subscribing to Yuga Dharma is about having a broad-minded mentality of having all-inclusive spirit. The way Srila Prabhupada explained to the group of devotees who went for Nagar Sankirtan. So we need to know this Nagar Sankirtan is not just meant for human beings, Indians, Hindus. When the Caitanya Mahaprabhu went into the Jharkhand forest, so many animals also joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the last but not least, the Sankirtan Yajna, Yoga Dharma, is not something, it's regional. If you perform in your region, if you perform in your own place, still the whole world can get benefited. Hence, this is an agenda of Shreyas, not Preyas. This is ultimately beneficial for humanity at large, all over the universe. It is not just limited to myself, my community, my family, my congregation. Hence, Yuga Dharma needs to be followed in a very religious and an authentic manner. Many times we see the devotees, they take either of the extreme. Either they are not dancing, they are very shy, sitting on the floor and just closing their eyes and meditating. That's also not what Yuga Dharma is all about. That's not how Acharyas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited. And it is also not the other extreme, where we are completely having an uncultured, an uncivilized way of conducting ourselves, even in terms of the dress and dance, and try to completely associate our Sankirtan to just music. But Sankirtan is beyond music. So that's my first reflection, is about Sanatana Dharma and Yuga Dharma. So in Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came and established Yuga Dharma and in turn protected Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is the foundation, basis, ever-existing process that one need to work on, and Yuga Dharma is the means by which one can get their Sanatana Dharma completely established and applied. So right from the get-go, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and all the way till Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very much spearheading for this Harinam Yuga Dharma. That is why Srila Prabhupada says, whichever temple conducts three things: Harinam Sankirtan, food for life, and book distribution, they will never face any difficulties and consequences in their own temple. So my first reflection hence is, Mahaprabhu personally appeared and did these four things. He invited whoever came their way, even if it is animal, criminal, he used to inspire them to chant the holy name of the Lord. He made everyone dance. He, just by performing in one place, he distributed positivity and kind of all auspiciousness spread all over the universe. to an extent that all the demigods, they wanted to be part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan mission. And then this Sankirtan mission is established very nicely by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for its purpose, for which this is we have started. So Yuga Dharma is something that we all need to subscribe to. The second reflection in our current context is about how different incarnations are coming again and again to bestow benediction upon society at large. As explained by Brahma in Brahma Samhita, that from every pores of the Lord's body, Andandarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. From every pores of the body, different universes are created. And in every universe, the Lord is present. And in every universe, unlimited human beings are there. And in every human being inside their heart, the Lord is sitting as Paramatma. And that Paramatma this time chose to come down as himself and win all the deserted souls. So the second reflection is about how the Supreme Lord, how the Supreme Lord is very, very kind upon the Jivas, and eventually he is coming down to win all of us. So the point I was trying to understand and trying to reflect here upon is something very obvious, but unfortunately in Kali Yuga, obvious things are not stated or forgotten. So that is why we need a living Acharya to come down and to establish and to present the science of Krishna consciousness to the society at large. So the second reflection goes about where Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he descended, as explained by Vrindavan Das Thakura here, you appear in Kali Yuga as a Brahmana with a golden complexion to inaugurate the congregational chanting of the holy names, which is unknown through the Vedas. In the purport is very wonderfully mentioned. I'll just read that quote portion. Although one's constitutional duties in the form of chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord are not directly propagated by the Vedas, they are nevertheless exhibited in this world in the form of devotional service unto the Lord, who is Adokshaja, beyond material perception. Saddharma Praneta, the director of religious codes. Bhagavata Dharmajnana, the knower of Vaishnava religious principle. And Veda Gopta, the protector of the Vedas. In other words, chanting the holy names of the Lord is a spiritual substance that is non-different from Lord Vishnu. The term Kali Yuga Avatara refers to Sri Chaitanya, whose complexion is golden, who is the spiritual master for the world, and who is the Brahmana inaugurator of the Sankirtan movement. The prescribed service of the holy names in the forms of the Lord is temple worship in Dwapara Yuga, sacrificial performance in Treta Yuga, and meditation in Satya Yuga. As a teacher, the Lord propagated the religious principles of all four yugas and thus acted as a spiritual master or acharya. The Lord also treated that in Satya Yuga, one should remain a brahmachari. In Treta Yuga, one should remain a grahastha. In Dwapara Yuga, one should remain a vanaprastha. And in Kali Yuga, one should remain a sannyasi. So the reflection here is that how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is appreciated for bringing in and delivering this Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan in our daily lives, and eventually winning all of us to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So knowing this, so many associates, so many Parshadas, they joined Mahaprabhu. So in this unlimited universes that are created, the Lord enters them, enters in each and everyone's heart, and trying to inspire us, take advantage of this human form of life. And that way, Mahaprabhu's appearance is very scientific, and it is meant for up-to-date, application, and not just some superficial practice. The third reflection is about the aspect of Mahaprabhu's appearance here glorified by the demigods. The demigods, they are very clear about their function. What happened was, much before Kali Yuga happened, as we have shared the story many times, Narada Muni, Rukmani Mata, they cried and wept, expressing their concern. Advaitacharya cried and wept, expressing his concern about the people of Kali Yuga. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he expressed his concern about the mission that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave and demonstrated. So this whole set of people, when they came and performed their duties, may it be Srila Prabhupada, may it be Advaitacharya, may it be Narada Muni and Rukmani Devi from Dwaraka, to all of them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu promised, Krishna promised to come as Sri Chaitanya and inundate the whole world. So all these demigods, they are out of sheer indebtedness and gratefulness and gratitude. So they are offering their prayers. My dear Lord, you came in so many different forms. In Satya Yuga, the Lord is glorified by the names as Hamsa, Suparna, Vaikunta, Dharma, Yogeshwara, Amala, Ishwara, Purusha, Avyakta, Paramatma, indirectly or kind of direct names. In Treta Yuga, the Lord appears with red complexion. And in that, he has forearms, golden hair, and wears a triple belt representing initiation into each of the three Vedas. So, in Treta Yuga, those members of human society who are fixed in religiosity and are sincerely interested in achieving the absolute truth, worship Lord Hari. And the names are Vishnu, Yajna, Prishnigarbha, Sarvadeva, Urukrama, etc. And Dwapara Yuga, he came as Shama Sundara. In Kali Yuga, he came as Chaitanya. So the message or the reflection, the third reflection is about how one should learn to avoid misgiving, misunderstanding, and mistake. Because Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita in the context of different incarnations, he explains Avajananti Mamuda Manushim Tanuma Shritam Param Bhava Majananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. So he says that how several people come and mistake me, misunderstand. Fools deride me, but they are all Mamudas. So hence, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita says, one should not speculate about the Lord's appearance. One should rather meditate on his appearance, and that way, this speculation is completely curtailed or removed or washed away, and proper devotion is established in the heart. So the third reflection is about, by the way of the Lord appearing and establishing Yuga Dharma and Sanatana Dharma, the Lord is completely clearing the air, saying that no misgiving, no misunderstanding, no mistake are supposed to be entertained or supposed to be welcome in the science of Krishna consciousness if it is accepted from a bona fide source. I'll give a couple of examples here. In terms of misgiving, we had an episode of how Balabhadra Bhattacharya went along with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan based on the request of the associates of Mahaprabhu. And in Vrindavan, there was a rumor that the Lord has appeared on the Kaliya's food. So everybody started running towards seeing the darshan. So Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu permission. My dear Mahaprabhu, will you please give your permission to let me go out and see the Supreme Lord's appearance? Mahaprabhu gave a tight slap. He said, because of hearing from a relative source and not hearing from an absolute source, your intelligence got completely bewildered and you started to speculate. Actually, that was a boatman, a lantern light and a boat. The boat's edge was looking like a hood. The lantern was looking like the eyes of Kaliya. The boatman looked like Krishna dancing on Kaliya. So the rumor that was spread was challenged and eventually curtailed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the reflection, the third reflection is that somebody proficient and fully aware about a Vedic knowledge about the appearances of the Supreme Lord should know and should give right directions. Otherwise, that knowledge will be considered as Shramayevahi Kevalam. The real knowledge is not to misgive, in the sense that not to consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary person, not to misunderstand Krishna to be just a playful child, not to mistake Krishna as some sort of a magician, like Brahma mistook Krishna and eventually kidnapped Krishna and kidnapped all the cows and cowherd boys. And Krishna ate mud and brought in some sort of a misunderstanding. So these three qualities of misgiving, misunderstanding, and mistake should be avoided. That's why demigods, to help us, to help themselves, they're praying and pleading. My dear Mahaprabhu, please appear. My dear Lord, please come forward. My dear so-and-so personalities today are saying that in Satya Yuga, in Treta Yuga, in Dwapara Yuga, in Kali Yuga, in several Yugas, you appeared and performed some Leela. So now we are available, we are at your service. So these demigods' prayers are very good example for us to be in a prayerful, spirit. The result of being properly situated and not get carried away with the speculation is, we will be able to recognize, we will be able to differentiate a senior devotee from a Kanishta. We will be able to properly respect a Kanishta to him in his capacity. At the same time, we will be having right amount of understanding to recognize and worship a real sadhu. So the message here is that for us to rightly understand Mahaprabhu's appearance, we need to give up this misgiving, misunderstanding, and mistake, and try to be a real, sincere, and serious practitioner. So this is my third reflection. And the fourth and last reflection in this current context is, when these all verses were read, that how the Lord looks like in Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, how when they were, when the demigods, when they were witnessing, they were only seeing about the Lord in the Satya Yuga. So all these things tells us that they are our witness for knowing who the Supreme Lord is. Because when the demigods, they witness the Supreme Lord, this is explained very nicely in Samudra Manthan pastime. The demigods, every time when they have a difficulty, they go to Swetadweep, and they keep on waiting and praying, and they keep on chanting Purusha Sukta to invite, to welcome the Lord. And it is explained by Srila Prabhupada that not every instance the Lord appeared. The Lord just gives his voice message. But in this Kali Yuga, Mahaprabhu not only appeared as Bhaktavatar, he demonstrated, taught us how to fight back against these misgivings, misunderstandings, and mistake. So my third reflection is about how one should learn to cultivate, inculcate a sense of discrimination, sense of what is correct, what is not correct. One should develop the sense of surrender without speculating the spiritual science. And the last part, the conclusion part of our today's discussion is that Brahma, Shiva, various demigods, they are coming to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they say that you come and establish dharma, but that is external reasons. You please give us access to your own pure love. Give access to your own devotees and yourselves interactions. So if I can offer this prayer, may Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestow their choicest blessings upon all of us, so that we can take advantage of these incarnations that comes our way. These incarnations about whom we are glorifying, but finally we have to acknowledge the fact that without the Supreme Lord's mercy, divine glance, we will not be able to understand and appreciate any aspect of Krishna consciousness. So from that standpoint, we are indebted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers to have come down, established, demonstrated, preached, and eventually inculcated in one's life the practice of Krishna conscious way of living. So to summarize our conversations, we have discussed about Sanatana Dharma and Yuga Dharma, how Yuga Dharma need to be integral part of our every day, every week spiritual practices and program. And Yuga Dharma is about chanting and dancing, is about getting involving all the other members or friends and relatives. And Yuga Dharma is also about auspiciousness for humanity at large, not limited and restricted to one region, which means if I chant here, the effect of it can be passed on, can be given to people in different parts of the world, Ukraine, Russia, and various other places. And Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan, is also a process by which we can attain, we can solidify the platform of Sanatana Dharma and eventually develop Krishna Prem. The second reflection we were discussing is about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going to appear, these demigods are coming and pacifying and telling all good things about the Supreme Lord. So they are helping us to recognize, like how Kunti Maharani prayed in her prayers, to help us recognize how does Krishna look, how does Krishna is identified. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. So she's giving, Prabhupada writes in the purport, she's giving address and appearance so that we don't go to the wrong person. So similarly, in this Sankirtan mission, it is imperative for us to be properly situated and recognize the Supreme Lord's incarnation. So with the help of the demigods, we get to know different incarnations and different forms and features. but they're also getting a solid understanding on how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And the third reflection is about in the process of knowing, serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, trying to eventually read Chaitanya Bhagavata, one should learn to give up speculation, because speculation gives rise to misgiving, misunderstanding, and mistake, which are the causes of separation, or which are the causes of our staying away from Krishna. And the cause for the speculation is hearing from a relative source and not hearing from an absolute source. And last but not least, in our journey to Krishna consciousness, one should acknowledge the fact that the prayers of these demigods, these prayers of all these wonderful personalities, they have been offered so that it can give some sort of a confirmation of what is coming our way. It's also kind of a preparation. So we are still part of this Yuga Dharma process. We are still part of this Sankirtan mission process. So we should not get digressed, distracted by any other agenda in Krishna consciousness, and learn to stay grounded and spread this Harinam, this Yuga Dharma Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan. So with this note, I would end here and wish you all a wonderful week of Gaura Purnima celebration. I am very happy and thank you to have engaged me in this service. If there are any questions or comments, I'll be happy to respond. And for the next speaker, or maybe the next couple of days, I'm not sure if the remaining speakers would finish all those slokas until 197 in this chapter, but for sure, we are definitely going closer to Mahaprabhu's appearance. So that's really exciting. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very enlightening class today. And we are very grateful to you. So, Prabhuji, if anybody has question, let's see. If anybody has any question, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the very, very nice class. I think it's getting very exciting as we are approaching Mahaprabhu's appearance, both date-wise as well as in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So thank you so much for talking about incarnations in different yogas, and then also explaining the importance of Yuga Dharma and telling us how important Yuga Dharma is, and also about hearing from the right source. I think it was a very, very nice class, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I really don't have any questions, but really it was, it's like preparing for the next 2 days. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And yeah, take care, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a little question.
Sure.
It's not exactly, but you just mentioned about the South India. So then we have visited one time. We went to South India, and every temple we went, we have custom, and sometimes we don't cover our head, but when we go to the temple, we cover our head. The ladies, I mean. And so when sometimes they want to bless us, so they say, take it off, and on the head, they give the blessings. So what is the reason for that not covering the head for the ladies? Is there something?
I fully don't know the reason, but whatever maybe others can say the reason, but in South Indian traditional Brahmin community, they say, I mean, it's opposite of what Gaudiya Vaishnavas they say. In Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they say we are supposed to cover our head to show our respect. Yes. So in South Indian, especially Brahmin tradition, they say the opposite, where if you cover your head, it is inauspicious. Not inauspicious that way. They kind of relate us with other religious beliefs. very weird, and especially South Indian Smartas are the most arrogant ones, at least whatever I know. So we don't bow down to such ideologies. So we do not cover our head. I mean, in general, it is very difficult practices. So the traditional practices is more from it's a very strong Mayavada root there. So when strong Mayavada root there, the beliefs is that I am Brahman and I need to be, purifying my consciousness. So I, bowing down and, all that sorts of the components of humility, service, all those things have been brought in only by the Vaishnavacharyas and Mahaprabhu, not by, anybody before that. So if I can, that's all I could think of. Maybe somebody else has any other reason why we don't cover our head. It's very, unusual and also weird coming from a Gaudiya Vaishnava background, such things.
Actually,
Anyone else knows the reason?
No,
Actually, the lady did.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to explain that, for example, in South India, from my understanding, from I heard from my parents, who are widows would cover their heads. For example, when I go to the temple, I don't cover my head because, like I said, from my understanding, women who are widows would cover their head. And so that's why I don't. Now, we do cover our shoulders. So in other words, the way we show the chest is we don't cover the back of the neck, and we cover both our shoulders with our pallu. So that's what I understand. So that's why my mother does not either. When she goes to temple, cover her head for that. Now she would, but traditionally. I don't know if anybody else.
As the same message, even Sri Vaishnavas, if we cover our head, it is very, very inauspicious because only widows cover their head. By mistake, if we cover our head, people get really, really upset. So that's what it's.
They get upset.
Yes, actually, even in pictures, they don't like to see married women covering head.
Yeah, especially if your husband is alive. His husband is alive, and you don't consider an auspicious. It's like not seeing. Tell you, for instance, my sister would go to work, and sometimes she would not have the kumkum, and my dad would say, "You enter this house, you need to put that kumkum on. I do not want to see your face without your kumkum book." So he was very, very strict about that. So that whole thing about covering your head, not having your kumkum, not wearing your Mangal Sutra, this was all considered very inauspicious for South Indian women.
Thank you, Mataji. I was always wondering why maybe some kind of ritual, something or whatever. Thank you, Parishwari Lakshmi Mataji, for giving us. Thank you. Hare Krishna. If anybody has any question,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful, beautiful class. So would you like to say us like how should be our consciousness to welcome Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It is coming soon. So what should be our mood? Can you please guide us, Prabhuji?
Jai. The mood, all the prayers of the acharyas, especially the prayers of the demigods, are very interesting set of prayers that are glorifying. So I made one long time back a class in Mumbai. So we discussed about 5 principles about Mahaprabhu's appearance. 5 prayers or 3 prayers about Mahaprabhu on his appearance day. Number 1, we mentioned that how one should learn to commit and convince oneself that we will preach to ourselves about the holy name and eventually preach to others about the practices of, Sankirtan mission. So the reason is, with all due respects, being in ISKCON and, for the last 32 years, many a times we are a better preacher than a practitioner. So as a prayer, we tell Sri Chaitanya, we pray to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that please allow us to, commit and convince to ourselves that it is you and me, and an individual, to be a practitioner and never get carried away, because we generally believe others' appreciation about us as true. Like when somebody says that, Prabhu, you are a very nice devotee, we start to believe that. If the same person told you, hey, you are stupid, you will say that, see how arrogant he is. So when anyone appreciates us, we start to believe, oh yeah, probably, I am a great devotee. And so from that perspective, we are very self-attached to ourselves. So the first prayer that we discussed that in that call, in that class, was one should pray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help us commit and convince ourselves. Holy name is an important integral part of our existence. Name Ruchi Jivedaya Vaishnava Seva. Name Ruchi is like a breathing. Vaishnava Seva is like our food. And Jivedaya is like our duty. I breathe holy name. I serve Vaishnava, and by serving Vaishnavas, I get energized, and like the food that I eat and try to be energized. And eventually I go out and help others, which is my duty. The second is, second prayer that we discussed is about how we need to pray to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu, whilst he is Adbhuta Karunya, Adbhuta Vadanya, Adbhuta Audarya, amazingly merciful, magnanimous, and munificent, one thing that he will never, let happen is doing some nonsense towards his dear devotees. He went to even chastise Jagadananda Pandita. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are two contexts. One context where, when Mahaprabhu was leaving to South India, at the time, he's mentioning that Jagadananda Pandita's anger or any upset towards me bothers me, so I'm very much particular to make sure that Jagadananda Pandita is not upset. But to the same person, Mahaprabhu later says that Jagadananda Pandita chastised Sanatana Goswami. Not chastised. Jagadananda Pandita said to Sanatana Goswami, when Sanatana Goswami said that I have skin disease, I feel like committing suicide. So Jagadananda Pandita suggested that let him go to Vrindavan and give up his life. So Mahaprabhu chastised Jagadananda Pandita left, right, center. So the point is, in Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, everything is forgiven but for Vaishnava Aparadha. When I say everything is forgiven, means Mahaprabhu bestows, gives profuse mercy, does not see any qualification, pre-qualification, any such criteria given to the Krishna Prem is given profusely. But a person committing Vaishnava Aparadha, he is very, immediately, reflects back, reacts back. So I sincerely request to all of us and to all the practitioners that we need to work sincerely not to commit a Vaishnava Aparadha. It's easily said than done. And the third and important part that I always request our devotees is that the Sankirtan mission is spreading very nicely. And let us learn to be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. Because being part of the solution is very important. What is being part of the problem? Spreading Apa Sampradaya and not being grateful, not being a very active missionary in spreading the Sankirtan mission, not being involved in Shreyas, ultimately beneficial activities, and focusing on prayers, using devotees for self-benefit. These are all very short-sighted ones. So hence the prayer is about how can we be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. These are 3 sets of prayers that we did, and we had an elaborate seminar on these 3 sets of prayers. Since you've asked, I just quickly had the notes in front of me so I could recollect. There could be several more other prayers that you can offer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but this is all something that I could think of. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much for that 3 prayers that we need to do. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Gandharika Mataji, for asking this, requesting this. Thank you.
Hare Krishna
Hare
ji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna ji. Kumudiki Mataji ji.
Prabhuji, if you have a question.
By your permission, Mataji, can I go for 2 minutes? Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Sure.
today you explained about how to serve without the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, we cannot serve Vaishnava. Then you explained about the Sanatan Dharma, Yuga Dharma. Every day and every week, we will progress in our spiritual progress by the mercy of Shri Nityananda and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And sitting here, we can pray for Russia, Vaishnava, and we can pray our family member. I just become a depressed that I take care of my brother-in-law. He's now 61 years old, special kids. So he's taking last breath, but I'm not able to go India. So Prabhuji, I can pray from here, and I need lots of prayers from all Vaishnava. And you explained about stay ground, learn to stay ground. That's sort of our mood to serve Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we have to serve them whatever our capacity with all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ji ki jai, jai jai Nityananda, jai jai Gauranga. Thank you, Prabhuji, koti koti Nandvat Pranam. And last request with all senior Matajis, if possible, can you please sing one bhajan? Hari Hari Gauranga, Nandvat Pranam.
Sure.
Prabhuji, Vrinda want to say something. Yeah, say.
Prabhuji, I want to say something. So if you breathe, if you want to breathe, you have to chant Hare Krishna. And if you serve devotees, you're full, and you can be energetic, and you will be strong and be happy, and you can tell other people how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will become like you, strong, like a strong.
Yeah. Prabhuji, you got it, Prabhu?
I got
60%
60% of it, but then for sure I got the mood of it. So I wish some days they become as innocent, as simple as this child, so that there is no kapat, no duplicity in our heart, in our prayers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai Ho, Dandavat Pranam, Bal Vrinda Gopi, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhagavata.
If there are no questions, then I'll sing a small song and we end this session.
That's Prabhu is wonderful.
Okay, so let's sing this song. Gai Gaura Madhur Sware, Gai Gaura Madhur Sware, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gai Gaura Madhur Sware, Gai Gaura Madhur Sware. Grihita ko vaneta ko sada hari bole dako. Grihita ko vaneta ko sada hari bole dako. Suke duke bhulo nako, vadane hari naam karo re. Suke duke bhulo nako, वदने हरि नाम करो रे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे गाय गौरंगा मधुर स्वरे माया जाले बाधा होए आचो मीचे काजल होए माया झाले बाधा होए आचो मीचे काजल होए एको नाचे तान पे राधा माधव नाम बोलो रे एको नाचे तान पे राधा माधव नाम बोलो रे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे जीवन होइलो शेषा ना भाजिले हृषिकेशा जीवन होइलो शेषा ना भाजिले हृषिकेशा भक्ति विनोदोपदेशा एक बार नाम रसे मतोरे भक्ति विनोदोपदेशा एक बार नाम रसे मतोरे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गाय गौरा मधुर स्वरे जय श्री श्री गौनिता की जय हरे कृष्णा
Hari Om. Thank you very much. Very, very nice, Prabhuji. Very nice, wonderful song. Gaura Gai Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Koti koti dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
So now, Prabhuji, nobody has any question. Can we end the call by your permission?
Yes, ma'am. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very enlightening class today. And we are very grateful to you. And we look forward to your association again and again, Prabhuji, in the future. Thank you, Prabhuji. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo modam. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। रामाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Jai.
श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय।
Jai.
All glories and his grace. Ramgiridhari Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Hey, thank you
Ramgiridhari
so
Prabhu
much,
ki
Prabhuji.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Everyone. Thank you everyone for joining today's class. We'll meet again tomorrow. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.